The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Krevtar warship Thunderclaw. Commander Thrak-Zul rose from his command chair, his massive 8-foot frame casting shadows across the control panels. His natural armor plates shifted as he moved, dark purple scales catching the dim light of the ship's interior. "Report," he growled, his voice deep enough to vibrate the metal floor. "Distress signal from Mining Colony 749. Commander," his communications officer replied. "Pirates have taken hostages. 43 workers captured. The attackers are demanding ransom and safe passage." Thrak-Zul's four eyes narrowed. Pirates were becoming bold again. It had been years since anyone dared challenge Council authority so openly. Perhaps they had forgotten what happened to those who defied the Krevtar. "Assemble Strike Team Beta," he ordered. 5 warriors. "Standard loadout. We leave in 10 minutes. His second-in-command, a younger warrior named Vexral, stepped forward. "Commander, 40 pirates against 5 of us? Perhaps we should bring more warriors." Thrak-Zul let out a sound that might have been laughter. "Vexral, when was the last time 5 Krevtar needed help against criminals? We are the strongest species in the galaxy. Our presence alone will make them surrender." It was true. For 10,000 years, the Krevtar had maintained peace across the galaxy. They were bigger, stronger, and tougher than any other species. Their natural weapons, razor-sharp claws and armored bodies, made them perfect warriors. Most conflicts ended the moment a Krevtar warship appeared. Nobody wanted to fight them. Nobody could win. The Galactic Council, a union of 847 different species, depended on the Krevtar. When there was trouble, they called the Krevtar. When there was war, the Krevtar ended it. It was the natural order of things. 20 minutes later, Thrak-Zul and his team emerged from hyperspace near Mining Colony 749. The colony was a small operation built into an asteroid, mining rare metals for the Council. It should have been safe, protected by its isolation and the Council's reputation. "Sir, I'm detecting another ship," the pilot announced. "Small freighter, docked at the main entrance." "Not in our database." Thrak-Zul studied the scanner readings. The ship was old, patched together from different parts. A cargo hauler, probably. Scan for life signs inside the colony. Reading 43 hostages in the main chamber as reported. "But sir, the pirates—" "I'm only detecting 12 life forms near them, and they appear to be restrained." "Restrained?" Thrak-Zul leaned forward. "Are you certain?" "Yes, Commander. The pirates are the ones who are tied up." This made no sense. Had the hostages somehow overpowered their captors? Unlikely. The distress signal had been sent only 3 hours ago. No rescue team could have arrived this quickly. The nearest Council security force was 2 days away. "Vexral, take the team and investigate. I want to know what happened." The 5 Krevtar warriors entered the colony through the main airlock. Their clawed feet echoed on the metal floors as they moved through the empty corridors. Everything was too quiet. No sounds of fighting, no screams, just silence. They found the hostages first, gathered in the colony's cafeteria. The workers looked tired but unharmed. When they saw the Krevtar, many of them actually relaxed as if the danger was already over. "Where are the pirates?" Vexral demanded. An older mining supervisor pointed down the corridor. "Storage Bay 3, the humans are guarding them." "Humans?" Vexral had never heard of this species. "They showed up about an hour ago, said they were passing through when they picked up our distress call. Next thing we knew, all the pirates were unconscious and tied up." The Krevtar warriors exchanged glances. This was highly irregular. They moved to Storage Bay 3, weapons ready. What they found confused them even more. 12 creatures stood in the storage bay. They were small, barely over 6 feet tall. Their skin was soft, unarmored, in various shades of brown and pink. They had no natural weapons that Vexral could see. No claws, no fangs, no protective scales. They looked fragile, like they might break if someone touched them too hard. These were humans. The pirates, 40 of them, sat against the wall with their hands bound behind their backs. They were from different species, all of them stronger looking than the humans. Yet here they were, defeated and complaining about headaches. One of the humans stepped forward. She was smaller than the others, with dark skin and short black hair. She wore a simple jumpsuit covered in oil stains. "You must be the Galactic Council's peacekeepers." "I'm Captain Elena Reeves. We secured the situation for you." Vexral studied her carefully. She showed no fear, despite standing before 5 Krevtar warriors who could tear her apart without effort. Either she was incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. "Explain," Vexral commanded. How did 12 of you defeat 40 armed pirates? Elena smiled. It was not a nice smile. They had hostages. We couldn't let that stand. So we dealt with it. That is not an explanation. Fine. Elena pulled out a small device and projected a hologram. We've been recording everything. Watch. The hologram showed the events from an hour earlier. The humans had approached the colony quietly, docking on the opposite side from the pirates. While the pirates celebrated their successful hostage-taking, the humans had infiltrated through maintenance tunnels. Vexrel watched as the humans split into teams. They moved silently, communicating through hand signals. They studied the pirates' positions, identifying leaders and weak points. Then they acted. But they did not fight honorably. They did not announce themselves or offer the pirates a chance to surrender. Instead, they used tricks. They cut the power, plunging the colony into darkness. The pirates panicked, firing weapons blindly, while the pirates were confused. Humans wearing strange green glowing devices on their heads moved through the darkness like ghosts. They did not see in the dark naturally, Vexrel realized. They had made tools to help them. The humans used noise to deceive the pirates. They threw objects to create sounds in one direction, then attacked from another. They whispered in the darkness, making the pirates think their own allies were betraying them. They used the environment, causing steam leaks and oxygen warnings that made the pirates fear the colony itself was failing. One by one, the pirates fell. Some were knocked unconscious by surprise attacks. Others were trapped in rooms or corridors. A few were talked into surrendering by a human who somehow convinced them their own leader had abandoned them. In 20 minutes, it was over. Not a single hostage was harmed. Not a single human was injured. 40 pirates were captured without a prolonged fight. Vexrel stopped the recording. This is unconventional. It's effective, Elena replied. Why fight fair when lives are at stake? Because honor demands it. Vexrel's voice rose. A warrior faces their enemy directly. They do not hide in shadows and use deception. A warrior protects those who cannot protect themselves, Elena countered. We did that. The hostages are safe. The pirates are captured. Does it matter how we did it? Vexrel had no answer. By the results, the humans had succeeded, but everything about their methods felt wrong. The Krevtar way was to confront enemies with strength and courage, to prove superiority through direct combat. These humans fought like cowards, yet they had won. Commander Thraxul will want to speak with you, Vexrel finally said. An hour later, Elena stood on the bridge of the Thunderclaw. Commander Thraxul towered over her, studying the strange new species with intense curiosity. Your species is not in the galactic database, Thraxul said. Where do you come from? A planet called Earth. It's in the outer rim, far from Council space. We've been exploring nearby systems for the past 20 years. This is our first contact with the wider galactic community. And in your first contact, you defeat 40 pirates without suffering a single casualty. Thraxul's tone was skeptical. Your recording shows tactics I have never seen. Deception, ambush, psychological manipulation. Is this how your species fights? It's how we survive, Elena said. Earth isn't an easy world, Commander. We don't have armor like yours. We're not the strongest or the fastest, so we learn to be smart. We learn to adapt. We learn to use what we have. You look weak, Thraxul stated bluntly. No natural weapons. Soft skin. Small size. How did your species ever survive to reach space? Elena's smile returned. Would you like a demonstration? What do you propose? A training exercise. Your warriors against mine. We can use simulation weapons non-lethal. A simple scenario, capture the flag. You choose your best 5 warriors. I'll choose 5 from my crew. We'll see which approach works better. The bridge fell silent. Several Krevtar officers made sounds of surprise. Vexrel looked shocked. Even challenge a Krevtar warrior was unusual. To challenge 5 was unheard of. Thraxul felt something he had not experienced in years. Genuine interest. This human was either very confident or very stupid. Perhaps she did not understand what the Krevtar were capable of. Or perhaps she did understand and simply did not care. You wish to fight Krevtar warriors in combat simulation? Thraxul asked slowly. You understand we are the strongest species in the galaxy. No species has ever defeated us in battle. I understand, Elena said. That's exactly why I'm asking. If we're going to join the Galactic Council someday, we should know how your military operates, and you should know how we fight. What better way than a friendly competition? Thraxul considered this. Part of him wanted to refuse. The Krevtar did not need to prove themselves to anyone, but another part of him was curious. These humans had defeated 40 pirates using methods he found distasteful, but undeniably effective. What would happen in a controlled environment? And if he was being honest with himself, the human's confidence irritated him. She stood before him, tiny and fragile, suggesting that her people could compete with the greatest warriors in the galaxy. It was insulting. Very well, Thraxul decided. We will arrange a simulation. Standard rules, non-lethal weapons, capture the flag scenario, urban environment, 5 against 5. When you lose, you will understand why the Krevtar lead the Council's military. And when we win? Elena asked. If you win, Thraxul emphasized the word, then perhaps the galaxy will have something new to learn. Elena extended her hand, a human gesture Thraxul had seen in the recording. He reached out and grasped her small hand in his massive clawed one, careful not to crush it. Deal, Elena said. As she left the bridge, Vexeral approached his commander. Sir, are you certain about this? Fighting these humans even in simulation seems beneath us. Perhaps, Thraxul admitted, but I want to know if their victory against the pirates was luck or skill. Better to find out now in a controlled environment than to be surprised later. You think they might actually pose a challenge? Thraxul watched the human captain walk away through the corridor, her stride confident despite being surrounded by beings who could easily kill her. I think, he said slowly, that this species has survived for a reason, and I want to know what that reason is. The message went out across council channels. The Krevtar had encountered a new species called humans. A training exercise had been scheduled. It would be transmitted live for any council members who wished to observe. Within hours, the news had spread. A new species was going to fight the Krevtar? This was unprecedented. Many species placed bets. The odds were heavily against the humans. After all, nobody had ever beaten the Krevtar, but a few voices, those who had read the reports about the pirate incident, were not so sure. These humans had done something no other species had managed. They had surprised the Krevtar. And in a galaxy that had been stable for 10,000 years, surprises were rare indeed. The simulation facility orbited a neutral station 3 days away from where the humans and Krevtar had first met. It was a massive structure used for training exercises by various council military forces. Today, representatives from over 200 species watched through holographic feeds as something historic was about to happen. Commander Thraxul stood in the observation room, his arms crossed over his broad chest. Beside him, Elena Reeves looked tiny in comparison, yet she seemed perfectly relaxed. On the main screen, 2 teams prepared to enter the simulation. The environment was an abandoned city, full of buildings, streets, and underground tunnels. Each team started at opposite ends. The goal was simple: capture the enemy's flag and return it to your base. Weapons were set to simulation mode, delivering painful electric shocks instead of lethal damage. 3 shocks and you were eliminated from the exercise. My warriors are the best in the fleet, Thraxul said as they watched his team check their equipment. Vexeral has 50 years of combat experience. The others are equally skilled. I chose them specifically for this exercise. I'm sure they're excellent, Elena replied. She pointed at her team on the other screen. That's Sergeant Marcus Chen, former Special Forces. The woman with red hair is Lieutenant Sarah Park, explosives expert. The big guy is Corporal James Wilson, heavy weapons. The twins are Lucy and Lisa Martinez, scouts and infiltration specialists. Thraxul studied the humans. They were checking their equipment carefully, speaking to each other in low voices. They seemed calm, professional, but they were so small, so weak-looking. One good hit from a Krevtar warrior would eliminate them immediately. Are you prepared to accept defeat? Thraxul asked. Elena smiled. Are you? The countdown began. Both teams entered the simulation. The abandoned city materialized around them, buildings reaching toward a gray sky. Broken vehicles littered the streets. The air was filled with artificial dust and smoke. The Krevtar moved immediately. They formed a tight formation and advanced directly toward the human base. This was their standard tactic: overwhelming force applied directly to the objective. They moved quickly despite their size, their armored bodies creating thundering sounds with each step. Confidence, one council observer noted. The Krevtar are not even attempting stealth. Why would they? another replied. They have never needed it. The humans, however, had disappeared. Their base appeared empty. The observation feed switched between different views, trying to locate them. Where did they go? Someone asked. Commander Thraxul leaned forward, interested now. The humans had vanished into the city. His warriors were charging toward an empty base. This was already different from what he expected. Vexral noticed it first. Something is wrong, he said through the communication system. This is too easy. Stay alert, his second-in-command warned. Remember the pirates. They approached the human base carefully now. The flag stood in the center of an open plaza, unguarded. It looked like a trap. Do we take it? One warrior asked. We have our orders, Vexral decided. 2 of you secure the flag. The rest defensive positions. 2 Krevtar warriors moved toward the flag. That was when the first trap activated. The ground beneath them exploded upward. Not with real explosives, but with compressed air and foam. The 2 warriors were thrown backward, covered in sticky substance that made their armor slippery. Before they could recover, simulation rounds hit them from multiple directions. 3 shots each. They were eliminated! Ambush! Vexral roared. Find them! But finding the humans proved difficult. They were not standing and fighting like honorable warriors. They were hiding in buildings, firing from windows, then disappearing before the Krevtar could respond. They used the city itself as a weapon, knowing exactly where to position themselves. One Krevtar warrior charged toward a building where shots had come from. He smashed through the door, ready to face the enemy. Instead, he found an empty room and a small device on the floor. The device released a blinding flash of light and a deafening sound. Simulation rounds hit him from behind. Eliminated. They are separating us, Vexral realized. Stay together. But it was too late. The humans had already split them up, using noise and movement to draw individual warriors away from the group. Lucy and Lisa Martinez worked in perfect coordination, one making noise to attract attention while the other flanked from a different angle. The Krevtar tried to adapt. They moved into a building to use it for cover, just as the humans did. But the moment they entered, the lights went out. The humans had cut the power. In the darkness, the Krevtar could still see using their natural senses, but the environment was now unfamiliar and confusing. Then the psychological warfare began. Through the building's old speaker system, the humans played sounds, footsteps running in different directions, doors opening and closing, voices whispering in the Krevtar language, learned phrases designed to cause confusion. Behind you, they are coming. Retreat. Ignore it. Vexral commanded. It is just tricks. But tricks were working. The remaining 2 Krevtar warriors were on edge, turning at every sound, expecting attacks from every shadow. When Marcus Chen finally revealed himself, stepping into view at the end of a corridor, one warrior immediately charged at him. Marcus ran. The Krevtar warrior followed, furious at being baited but unable to resist the chase. He was faster, stronger, closing the distance quickly, but he did not see the wire stretched across the hallway at ankle height until he tripped over it. The warrior crashed through a weak section of floor, falling into the basement below. He landed hard, simulation sensors detecting enough impact to count as elimination. Vexral was alone now, 4 of his warriors eliminated without taking down a single human. The shame burned in his chest. This could not be happening. The Krevtar never lost. He moved carefully now, abandoning the aggressive tactics. If the humans wanted to use stealth and deception, he would be patient. He would wait for them to make a mistake. But the humans did not make mistakes. Instead, they changed tactics. All 5 humans appeared simultaneously, surrounding Vexral's position. They did not hide anymore. They stood in open view, weapons aimed at him from 5 different directions. Vexral could take 1 or 2 of them before they eliminated him. But 5? Even for a Krevtar, that was impossible. Sarah Park spoke, her voice amplified. You can surrender or we can eliminate you. Your choice. Vexral felt rage building inside him. Surrender? No Krevtar warrior had ever surrendered in a combat exercise, never. But continuing would be pointless. He was outnumbered, surrounded, with no path to victory. While he hesitated, James Wilson spoke into his radio. Lisa, how's the flag? Secured, Lisa's voice responded. Heading back to base now. It was over. While Vexral had been dealing with the ambushes and traps, one human had slipped past everything and captured the Krevtar flag. The humans had won. Simulation ended, the automated voice announced. Human team victorious. The observation room exploded with noise. Species from across the galaxy were shouting in surprise, disbelief, and excitement. Many had lost bets. Others were demanding to see the recording again, certain there had been some mistake. Commander Thrak-Zul stood frozen, staring at the screen. His best warriors, 5 of the most skilled Krevtar in the fleet, had been completely defeated. Not one human eliminated. A perfect victory. How? He said quietly. Elena stood beside him, watching her team exit the simulation. Your warriors are strong and brave, but you fight the same way every time. Direct assault, overwhelming force, honor-bound tactics. Once we understood your pattern, we adapted. Patterns? Thrak-Zul turned to her. There is no pattern. Each situation is different. But your response is always the same, Elena explained. You always choose the most direct approach. You always fight head-on. You value honor over effectiveness. Those are patterns we can predict and exploit. You call our honor a weakness. I call it a limitation, Elena said gently. Commander, you asked how humanity survived despite being weak. This is how. We cannot overpower our enemies, so we outthink them. We cannot win with strength, so we win with strategy. Every disadvantage we have, we turn into an advantage. Thrak-Zul looked at his defeated warriors on the screen. Vexral was speaking with the humans, his body language showing both shame and curiosity. The others were examining the traps that had defeated them, trying to understand how they worked. A rematch, Thrak-Zul said suddenly. We will do this again. My warriors will adapt. We will learn your tricks. Will you? Elena asked. Commander, your entire military doctrine is based on being the strongest. When has anyone ever forced you to change tactics? When have the Krevtar ever needed to adapt? The truth of her words struck him hard. She was right. For 10,000 years, the Krevtar had fought the same way because it always worked. No one had ever given them a reason to change. They were the strongest, so strength was always the answer. Until now, what do you want? Thrak-Zul asked. You have proven your point. Your species has defeated mine in combat. What comes next? Elena was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. We do not want to defeat you, Commander. We want to learn from you, and maybe you could learn from us. Humanity is alone out here. We are new to the galaxy. We need allies. And the Krevtar, you have maintained peace for 10,000 years. That is something worth respecting. You want alliance? After humiliating us? I want partnership, Elena corrected. Commander, think about it. Your strength combined with our tactics. Krevtar warriors who can adapt to any situation. An unstoppable force that can also be an unstoppable strategy. Would not that make the Krevtar even greater than they already are? Thrak-Zul considered this. His pride was wounded, yes. The defeat stung deeply. But beneath the shame, he felt something else, fascination. These humans had shown him something he thought impossible. They had beaten the unbeatable. What else might they be capable of? I will bring this to the Galactic Council, Thrak-Zul decided. Humanity will be considered for membership. And I will recommend joint training operations between human and Krevtar forces. You would sponsor us? Elena seemed surprised. Even after we defeated you? Because you defeated us, Thrak-Zul said. For 10,000 years, the Krevtar have protected the galaxy. We have grown comfortable in our strength. Perhaps too comfortable. You have reminded me that there is always something new to learn. Always a different way to approach problems. He extended his massive clawed hand. Elena shook it, her small hand disappearing in his grip. Besides, Thrak-Zul added with something that might have been a smile, if we are going to face enemies together, I would rather have humans fighting alongside us than against us. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than any starship. A new species, unknown and seemingly weak, had defeated the legendary Krevtar warriors. Some species were excited, seeing it as proof that the galaxy was entering a new era. Others were concerned, worried about what these unpredictable humans might do. But in the training facility, 5 humans and 5 Krevtar sat together, sharing food and stories. Vexral was asking Marcus Chen about Earth's military history. Sarah Park was showing another warrior how to set up a proper ambush. James Wilson was arm wrestling a Krevtar twice his size and somehow holding his own through sheer stubborn determination. Your warrior is losing, Elena noted. But he has not given up, Thrak-Zul observed. Typical human behavior? Very typical, Elena confirmed. We are not good at knowing when to quit. That might be useful in a fight. It is. Trust me on that. Thraxul watched the two species interact. Warriors from different worlds learning to understand each other. Perhaps the galaxy was ready for change. Perhaps it needed change. And perhaps these strange, weak, stubborn humans were exactly what the galaxy needed. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive sphere that floated in space, large enough to hold representatives from all 847 member species. Today it was more crowded than usual. Everyone wanted to see the humans who had defeated the Krevtar. Admiral Marcus Chen stood at the center podium, feeling very small. Around him, in tiers that rose up like a stadium, sat beings of every imaginable shape and size. Some breathed different atmospheres and watched through force fields. Others existed as energy beings, their forms barely visible, and all of them were staring at him. The Council recognizes Captain Marcus Chen of species designation. Human, the Council speaker announced. You petitioned for probationary membership in the Galactic Council. State your case. Marcus had prepared for this moment. Elena had returned to Earth to report while he stayed to represent humanity. He cleared his throat and began. Honorable Council members, humanity seeks to join the galactic community not because we are the strongest or the smartest. We know we are neither. We seek membership because we believe we have something to offer. We have survived on a difficult world by learning to adapt, to cooperate, and to never give up. We hope to bring these qualities to the Council. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, some positive, some skeptical. A representative from the Zithian collective spoke up. Your species defeated the Krevtar through deception and trickery. How can we trust beings who fight without honor? Marcus had expected this. We fought to protect hostages and to win a training exercise. In both cases, no lives were lost. Is it not honorable to value life over pride? Commander Thraxul rose from the Krevtar section. His voice boomed across the chamber. The humans fought differently than we are accustomed to, but they fought effectively. They protected the weak and defeated the strong. Is that not what warriors are meant to do? More murmurs. The fact that the Krevtar were defending humanity surprised many. Furthermore, Thraxul continued, I propose that humans be granted probationary membership with a condition. Human military advisors will integrate with Krevtar peacekeeping forces for a trial period of 1 galactic cycle. We will evaluate their methods and their character. If they prove themselves worthy, full membership will follow. The debate lasted for hours. Many species were concerned about bringing in such an unknown factor. But others, particularly those who relied on Krevtar protection, trusted Thraxul's judgment. Finally, a vote was called. The result, probationary membership approved. Marcus felt relief wash over him. Humanity was part of the galaxy now. They had a chance to prove themselves. 3 months later, Marcus found himself on a Krevtar warship with 50 other human volunteers. They were being integrated into various Krevtar units across the galaxy. The cultural exchange was fascinating and sometimes frustrating. The Krevtar were disciplined, honorable, and incredibly strong. But they were also rigid in their thinking. They had done things the same way for so long that new ideas seemed strange to them. Why do you waste time with these exercises? Vexril asked as Marcus led a group of humans and Krevtar through problem-solving drills. Because battles are not always won with strength, Marcus explained. Sometimes you need to think creatively. What if you cannot use brute force? What if you are outnumbered 10 to 1? What then? Then we fight anyway, Vexril replied. Krevtar do not retreat. That is very brave, Marcus said carefully. But sometimes retreating saves lives. Sometimes running away is the smartest move. Vexril looked offended. Running is cowardice. Running is survival. And survival means you can fight again later, maybe with better odds. It was a constant struggle teaching the Krevtar that there were other ways to fight. But slowly some of them began to understand. They started asking questions about human tactics. They wanted to know why humans did things that seemed strange. Sarah Park showed them how to set traps and ambushes. James Wilson taught them about using terrain to their advantage. Lucy and Lisa Martinez demonstrated infiltration techniques. And Marcus tried to teach them the hardest lesson. Sometimes the best fight is the one you avoid. Then the crisis came. The emergency alert woke everyone in the middle of the ship's night cycle. Marcus rushed to the bridge, still pulling on his uniform. Commander Thraxul was already there, his face grim. Report, Marcus said. The Vryn swarm has escaped quarantine, Thraxul replied. 3 colony worlds are under attack. Marcus felt his blood run cold. He had read about the Vryn swarm in the Council archives, an insectoid species that thought as one mind, consuming everything in their path. 100 years ago, they had nearly destroyed a dozen worlds before being contained on their home system. The quarantine had held for a century until now. How bad? Marcus asked. Bad. The swarm is consuming resources faster than predicted. Krevtar forces are engaging but struggling. The swarm adapts quickly, learning from each encounter. We are being requested as reinforcements. Marcus pulled up the tactical display. The 3 colony worlds were spread across a small system. The swarm was attacking all 3 simultaneously, overwhelming defenses with sheer numbers. Krevtar forces were fighting bravely, holding the line, but they were being pushed back. How long until we arrive? 6 hours at maximum speed. Then we have 6 hours to prepare. Gather all human advisors to the briefing room. I need to see everything we know about the swarm. The briefing was intense. Marcus studied the swarm's attack patterns, watching recordings of the current battle. The swarm was like nothing humanity had ever faced. Thousands of creatures, all controlled by a single intelligence, moving with perfect coordination. They fight like water, Sarah observed. When you push them back in one place, they flow around to another. And they learn, Marcus noted. Look here. The first wave uses basic tactics. The second wave, just hours later, has adapted to Krevtar weapons and strategies. So they are getting smarter, James said. Great. Not smarter, Marcus corrected. More informed. They are gathering data with each encounter. Every time the Krevtar use the same tactic, the swarm learns to counter it. Lucy leaned forward. So what do we do? Marcus was quiet, thinking. The Krevtar were losing because they fought predictably. The swarm could learn from predictable tactics. But what if they change the pattern? We need to make them learn the wrong lessons, Marcus said slowly. We need to show them patterns, then break those patterns. Confuse their collective mind. How? I am not sure yet. But I think we need to study their behavior more carefully. There has to be something we can exploit. When they arrived at the combat zone, the situation was worse than reported. 1 colony had already fallen. The other 2 were barely holding. Swarm ships filled the space around the planets like angry insects, their organic hulls pulsing with alien life. All ships, this is Commander Thraxul, the Krevtar leader announced. We reinforce the defense of Colony World 2. Prepare for engagement. Wait, Marcus said. Commander, permission to speak? Thraxul glanced at him. They had worked together long enough now that the Krevtar trusted the human's instincts. Speak. I have been watching the recordings. I think I see a pattern in the swarm's attacks. May I show you? Thraxul pulled up the tactical display. Marcus pointed at the swarm's movements. See how they attack? They send waves at defensive positions, testing them. Each wave is a little different, trying new approaches. When they find a weakness, they exploit it. Yes, we know this. What is your point? The point is they are learning from every encounter. But what if we do something they cannot learn from? What if we do something completely unpredictable, such as, let me study their patterns for 30 minutes. I think I can identify where their central command nodes are located. Thraxul was skeptical. The swarm has no central command. They are a collective. Yes, but some parts of the collective must be coordinating the others. Like how a human brain works. Individual cells, but some areas control specific functions. You are guessing. I am hypothesizing, Marcus corrected. Give me 30 minutes to analyze their movement patterns. If I am wrong, we fight your way. If I am right, we might be able to stop them more effectively. Thraxul looked at his tactical officers. They seemed doubtful. But the Krevtar commander had learned something from humans over the past months. Sometimes crazy ideas worked. 30 minutes, he decided. But if this fails, we do things the Krevtar way. Marcus gathered his human team and they began analyzing the swarm's movements. They were looking for anomalies, patterns within patterns. Sarah noticed it first. There, that group of swarm ships. They move differently. They are not attacking. They are staying back, observing. Marcus zoomed in. She was right. While most of the swarm was throwing itself at the defenses, a small group of larger ships hung back, moving between areas of heavy combat, but never engaging directly. Those could be the coordinators, Lucy suggested. The ones processing information and directing the swarm. Can we identify all of them? Marcus asked. They worked frantically, marking every ship that showed the same behavior pattern. Within 25 minutes, they had identified 17 potential coordinator nodes across the entire battle space. Marcus brought the information to Thrak-Zul. These ships, I believe they are local coordination nodes. If we take them out, the swarm in that area should lose cohesion. You want to ignore the main swarm forces and attack these specific targets? Yes, surgical strikes, fast and precise. That means leaving defensive positions. It means taking risks. It means potentially saving both colonies, Marcus countered. Commander, the defensive approach is not working. The swarm is too numerous, but if we can disrupt their coordination even temporarily, it might give the colonies time to evacuate. Thrak-Zul was silent for a long moment. This went against everything the Krevtar believed in. They held the line. They did not abandon defensive positions to chase targets. But the line was breaking anyway. And the humans' logic made sense. How do you propose we do this? The Krevtar ships hold the line and draw the swarm's attention. Human pilots and smaller fighters slip through and strike the coordinator nodes. We are too small to be priority targets. By the time the swarm realizes what we are doing, we will have hit multiple nodes. You will be surrounded and outnumbered. That is our specialty, Marcus said with a slight smile. Thrak-Zul made his decision. Do it. But if this fails... If this fails, you have permission to tell me I told you so, Marcus replied. The plan went into motion. Krevtar warships moved into position, drawing the swarm's attention with aggressive displays and heavy fire. Meanwhile, 30 human-piloted fighters launched quietly, using the battle's chaos as cover. Marcus led one squadron. His heart pounded as they flew into the thick of the swarm. Alien ships surrounded them, but most were focused on the larger Krevtar vessels. The humans were like mosquitoes, too small to matter. First target identified, Sarah's voice came through the comm. Moving to engage. All squadrons, hit your targets simultaneously, Marcus ordered. In 3, 2, 1, now. 30 fighters opened fire on 17 different targets. The coordinator nodes, surprised by the sudden attack, tried to defend themselves, but they were not combat ships. They were command and control. Within seconds, all 17 were destroyed or crippled. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Swarm ships in those areas suddenly lost cohesion. They stopped moving as an organized unit and began acting individually, confused and disoriented. The pressure on defensive positions eased considerably. It worked. Bexrel's voice came through, surprise evident. The swarm is breaking apart. All ships advance, Thrak-Zul ordered. Push them back while they are disorganized. The combined human Krevtar force surged forward. For the first time in days, they were winning. The swarm, its coordination disrupted, began to retreat. 2 colonies were saved. When they returned to the flagship, Commander Thrak-Zul did something unprecedented. He stood before Marcus and the human team and placed his clawed hand over his heart in a Krevtar salute of respect. You saved those colonies, Thrak-Zul said. Your strategy worked when ours was failing. The Council will hear of this. Marcus returned the salute. We fought together, Commander. Your warriors held the line. We just found a different approach. No, Thrak-Zul said firmly. You found the right approach. That is the difference. The victory was celebrated across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, someone had found an effective counter to the Vryn swarm. And it was not the mighty Krevtar who had done it. It was humans working alongside them. 6 months after the victory against the Vryn swarm, humanity was no longer probationary. The Galactic Council had granted them full membership. Human advisors were now stationed with military forces across the galaxy, teaching new tactics and strategies. The old ways were changing. Commander Thrak-Zul walked through the joint training facility on Council Station Prime, watching Krevtar warriors practice ambush techniques with human instructors. A year ago, he would have called this disgraceful. Now he saw it as evolution. The Council requests your presence, Commander, his communications officer reported. Urgent session. All military leaders required. Thrak-Zul felt unease settle in his chest. Urgent sessions were rare. Something serious had happened. He found Admiral Marcus Chen already heading toward the council chamber. Any idea what this is about? Marcus asked. None. But if they are calling military leaders specifically, it is not good news. The council chamber was filled with tension when they arrived. The speaker looked older than usual, her tentacles drooping with stress. We have a situation, she began without preamble. 3 days ago, exploration vessels detected unusual energy signatures at the galaxy's edge, beyond charted space. Yesterday we lost contact with 3 outer colonies. This morning we received this transmission. The central display activated, showing a recording. The image was corrupted, filled with static, but the message was clear enough. It showed a colony world being destroyed. Not by weapons humanity or the Council understood. The planet's surface simply stopped existing, converted into energy and absorbed by massive ships that looked like they were built from crystal and shadow. "What are we looking at?" someone asked. A Krevtar science officer stepped forward. "We sent research teams to investigate the energy signatures. They found ruins on a dead world near the anomalies. Ancient ruins. Some of the symbols matched records from extinct civilizations." "What did they say?" Marcus asked. The science officer hesitated. "Warnings. In dozens of extinct languages, all saying the same thing. Beware the eldest. They sleep beyond the veil, they will return." The chamber erupted in noise. Marcus felt his skin prickle. "The eldest? Who are they?" "The Drevaki," another council member said quietly. "They are legend. Stories told to children, the ancient ones who supposedly built the first civilizations in this galaxy before disappearing millions of years ago." "Apparently they are not legend," Thraxul said grimly. "Those ships destroying our colonies are very real." "We attempted first contact," the speaker continued. "They responded with a simple message. We have translated it." Another recording played. The voice that spoke was not one voice but many, layered upon each other, creating an effect that hurt to hear. "Children of our forgotten garden, we have returned to reclaim what was always ours. You have squandered our gifts, fought among yourselves, forgotten the old ways. Your time is ended. Submit to our guidance or be removed. You have 10 of your solar cycles to decide." The chamber fell silent. The message was clear. Surrender or die. "What is their military capability?" Thraxul asked. "Unknown, but preliminary analysis suggests technology far beyond ours. Their ships manipulate energy and matter in ways we cannot fully understand. They destroyed 3 star systems in less than a day. Our forces in those regions attempted to engage. No survivors." Marcus felt his stomach drop. 3 star systems gone. How many people had died? Millions? Billions? "The Council's military must respond," a Krevtar general declared. "We cannot show weakness. We also cannot fight an enemy we do not understand," Marcus countered. "We need information. We need to know what we are facing." "The human speaks wisely," the speaker agreed. "We are gathering all available data. But the reality is simple. The Drevaki have technology and power we cannot match with conventional warfare." "Then we use unconventional warfare," Marcus said. "It is what humans do best," Thraxul nodded. "The Council military will engage to buy time and gather intelligence. But we need to be realistic. This enemy is unlike anything we have faced." Over the next days, more reports came in. The Drevaki were advancing slowly but steadily into Council space. Every attempt at communication was met with the same response: submit or be destroyed. Every military engagement ended in defeat. The Krevtar sent their best fleets. Massive warships that had never been beaten. The Drevaki destroyed them with casual ease, converting metal and energy into nothing. It was not even a fight. It was extermination. The galaxy began to panic. Species that had lived in peace for 10,000 years suddenly faced annihilation. Some council members began arguing for surrender. Others wanted to fight to the last, even if it meant extinction. Marcus and his team worked around the clock, studying every piece of data about the Drevaki. There had to be a weakness. Everything had a weakness. "Their ships are incredibly powerful," Sarah observed, "but they move in very structured formations, almost ritualistic. They are also arrogant," James added. "They do not even consider our forces a threat. They barely adjust their tactics." "Because they have not needed to," Marcus realized. "They are so powerful that nothing we do matters to them. They have fought this way for millions of years probably, and it has always worked. So what do we do against an enemy that is genuinely unstoppable?" Lucy asked. Marcus thought about Earth's history, about every time humanity had faced impossible odds. "We do not try to beat them at their game. We change the game entirely." He pulled up a map of the galaxy. "Look at their advance. Slow, methodical, destroying everything in their path. They are not rushing. Why?" "Maybe they do not need to rush," Vexrel suggested. He had joined the human team permanently, learning their methods. "They know we cannot defeat them." "Exactly. They are confident, overconfident, and that is the only weakness we have to work with." Marcus began outlining a plan. It was crazy. It was desperate. It went against every military doctrine the Council had ever followed. But it was the only chance they had. We cannot beat them in direct combat, he explained. So we do not fight them directly. We make them think we are fighting one way, then hit them differently. We make them paranoid, uncertain, constantly adapting to threats that might not even exist. Psychological warfare, Thraxul said. Against an enemy millions of years old? Why not? Age does not make you immune to doubt. In fact, age might make you more set in your ways, less able to adapt to new threats. Marcus presented his plan to the Council. It was radical. Abandon fixed defensive positions, split forces into small mobile units, hit-and-run attacks, make every system a trap, use civilians as intelligence gatherers, turn trade routes into ambush points, make the Dravaki pay for every inch of space they took. This is not warfare, one council member protested. This is terrorism. This is survival, Marcus replied. The Dravaki have given us a choice, submit or die. I am proposing a third option. Make them regret ever coming back. Your plan requires the entire galaxy to become a war zone, another member said. Civilian casualties will be enormous. Civilian casualties are already enormous, Marcus said quietly. 3 star systems are gone. Billions are dead. And more will die unless we do something different. The Dravaki expect us to fight honorably to protect our people, to value peace. We need to show them that we value survival more. The debate raged for hours. Some species refused to participate in such tactics. Others reluctantly agreed. But enough voted in favor that Marcus was given military command authority, something no non-Krevtar had ever received. You understand what you are asking us to do? Thraxul said privately after the vote. You are asking the Krevtar to abandon honor, to fight like cowards. I am asking you to fight like humans, Marcus corrected. To survive. Is that not honorable? Thraxul was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, when this is over, if we survive, the galaxy will never be the same. The peace we maintained for 10,000 years, the honor we fought with, all of it will be gone. Yes, Marcus agreed. But the people will still be alive. Is not that worth it? I do not know, Thraxul admitted. But I trust you, human. You have not been wrong yet. The new strategy was implemented immediately. Council forces were reorganized into small strike teams. Humans trained other species in guerrilla tactics, ambush techniques, and psychological operations. Entire star systems were prepared as traps. The Dravaki continued their advance, but now they faced something different. A fleet would arrive at a system expecting a fight only to find it abandoned. But when they moved to claim it, explosives would detonate or systems would overload or ships would emerge from hiding to strike and vanish. It was not doing much damage. The Dravaki were still too powerful, but it was slowing them down, making them cautious, making them think. And thinking was the first step toward doubt. Commander Thraxul led a Krevtar strike team on a mission that would have been unthinkable a year ago. They were abandoning a colony world, letting the Dravaki take it. But before they left, they filled the infrastructure with traps, rigged the power systems to overload, and poisoned the resource deposits. This feels wrong, Vexral said as they prepared to evacuate. I know, Thraxul replied. But Marcus is right. If we fight their way, we lose. If we fight our way, we die, so we fight a new way. They watched from a distance as the Dravaki fleet arrived at the abandoned colony. The aliens began claiming the resources, converting them into energy for their ships. Then the traps activated. The entire colony exploded in a chain reaction. Several Dravaki ships were caught in the blast. They survived, their shields protecting them, but they were damaged, hurt, and more importantly, surprised. First blood, Thraxul said quietly. Perhaps the eldest can bleed after all. Across the galaxy, similar events unfolded. The Dravaki found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to engage properly. Ships appeared and disappeared. Resources they claimed were worthless or dangerous. Colonies were empty or trapped. Trade routes led to ambushes. It was not defeating the Dravaki, but it was frustrating them. And frustration led to anger. Anger led to mistakes. Marcus watched the reports coming in. The Dravaki were changing their tactics, becoming more aggressive, sending larger forces to smaller targets. They were overreacting, overextending, trying to stamp out an enemy that would not stand still long enough to be destroyed. It is working, Sarah said. They are getting impatient. Not enough, Marcus replied. We are slowing them down, but they are still winning. We need something bigger, something that will make them truly afraid. How do you scare beings that have existed for millions of years? James asked. Marcus pulled up intelligence reports on Dravaki behavior. He studied their movements, their communications, their patterns. There had to be something, some fear, some weakness they did not even know they had. And then he saw it. They are dividing their forces, Marcus said slowly. Look, they started with one massive fleet. Now they are spreading out, trying to cover more territory. They are reacting to our tactics by splitting up. Is that not good for us? Lucy asked. It is exactly what we need, Marcus said with a grim smile. They are adapting to fight us, which means they see us as a threat, which means they are not as confident anymore. And if they are not confident, they can be beaten, Thraxul finished. Marcus nodded. It is time for Phase 2. We have made them angry. Now we make them scared. Admiral Marcus Chen stood before the largest military gathering in galactic history. Representatives from 400 species filled the massive briefing hall, all waiting to hear the plan that would either save them or doom them to extinction. The Dravaki believe they are invincible, Marcus began. They have believed it for millions of years. That belief is their weakness. A holographic display showed the Dravaki fleet positions. They had divided their forces, spreading across Council territory in multiple groups. Each group was still powerful enough to destroy anything in its path, but they were no longer concentrated. Over the past weeks, we have shown them that we will not fight conventionally. They have adapted by dividing their forces to cover more territory. This is good. But now we take it further. We are going to make them afraid of their own shadows. How? Commander Thraxul asked. He looked different now. The proud warrior had learned to embrace tactics he once would have called dishonorable. War had changed him as it had changed all of them. Operation Madhouse, Marcus announced. We are going to launch a series of attacks that make absolutely no strategic sense. We will sacrifice resources, ships, even entire fleets in ways that appear completely irrational. The goal is not to win battles. The goal is to make the Dravaki believe we are unpredictable, possibly insane, and therefore dangerous in ways they cannot calculate. The room erupted in confused voices. Sarah Park stepped forward to explain further. The Dravaki think logically. They have spent millions of years using pure logic and superior technology to dominate. They expect us to protect our most valuable assets, defend our most important worlds, and retreat when we cannot win. We are going to do the opposite of all that. She pulled up a tactical map. We will abandon heavily defended worlds without a fight. Then we will send massive forces to reclaim worthless systems. We will sacrifice expensive warships to destroy minor Dravaki scout ships. We will broadcast false intelligence that contradicts itself. We will make them think every action might be a trap. Every retreat might be a feint. Every victory might be part of a larger plan they do not understand. You want to make them paranoid, a council member realized. Exactly, Marcus confirmed. Paranoia makes you second-guess everything. It makes you slow down, be cautious, waste resources on threats that might not exist. And while they are busy trying to understand our insanity, we will be positioning for the real attack. James Wilson took over, showing fleet deployments. We have been secretly moving forces for weeks. Small ships hiding in asteroid fields, dead zones, anywhere the Dravaki would not look. Thousands of ships all waiting. The Dravaki do not know they are surrounded because they are not looking for an attack. They think they are hunting us. When they are sufficiently confused and divided, Marcus continued, we launch simultaneous strikes on every Dravaki group at once. Not to destroy them, that is impossible, but to cripple their command ships and communications. We have identified the ships that coordinate their fleets. If we can take those out, even temporarily, the Dravaki forces will lose cohesion. Just like we did with the Vryn swarm, Vexral noted. Exactly. The principle is the same. Find the coordination nodes, eliminate them, create chaos. But the Dravaki are not the swarm, Thraxul pointed out. Their technology is far superior. Getting close enough to strike their command ships will be nearly impossible. Marcus nodded. Which is why we are not getting close. We are already close. We have been planting saboteurs on Dravaki-controlled worlds for weeks. Human volunteers, specially trained. They have been infiltrating Dravaki ships, learning their systems, placing charges and programming viruses. When we give the signal, they activate everything at once. The room went silent. The implications were staggering. You sent humans to infiltrate Dravaki ships? someone asked. That is a suicide mission. It is, Marcus agreed quietly. Every volunteer knew they probably would not come back. But they went anyway because this is the only way to get inside the Dravaki defenses. Sarah's voice was steady, but Marcus could hear the emotion beneath. We have 67 teams deployed across Dravaki territory. Engineers, soldiers, hackers. They have been sending us intelligence about Dravaki systems and weaknesses. When Operation Madhouse begins, they will sabotage every Dravaki ship they can reach. Thrak-Zul felt something he rarely experienced. Awe. Humans were fragile, weak creatures, but they were willing to sacrifice themselves in ways even the Krevtar found difficult to comprehend. Your people walk into death knowingly. Our people walk into death hoping, Marcus corrected. Hoping that their sacrifice means something. Hoping that someone else gets to live. That is very human. The plan was approved. There were objections, concerns, and fears. But there were no better options. The Dravaki were still advancing, still destroying worlds. Time was running out. Operation Madhouse began. The first phase was chaos. Council forces launched attacks that seemed random and senseless. They abandoned the heavily defended core worlds without explanation, pulling all military forces back. The Dravaki, confused, moved in to claim them. But when they arrived, the worlds were empty, stripped of anything useful, filled with traps that served no purpose except to waste the Dravaki's time. Meanwhile, Council fleets launched desperate assaults on meaningless asteroid fields and empty systems. They fought with fury over resources that were worthless. They sent expensive warships on suicide runs against minor Dravaki patrols. The Dravaki could not understand it. Why were the Council forces acting irrationally? Why sacrifice so much for so little gain? Every new encounter made less sense than the last. Their communications, intercepted by Council intelligence, showed increasing confusion. The Dravaki commanders were arguing among themselves, trying to identify the pattern. But there was no pattern to find. That was the point. They are slowing down, Sarah reported 3 weeks into the operation. Dravaki fleet movements are becoming more cautious. They are sending scout ships ahead, checking systems multiple times before committing forces. We have gotten into their heads. How are our saboteur teams? Marcus asked. Sarah's expression darkened. 17 teams have been discovered and eliminated. But the remaining 50 have successfully infiltrated key Dravaki vessels. They are in position and awaiting orders. 50 teams out of 67. Marcus felt each loss like a physical blow. Those were people under his command. People who had trusted him. People who were never coming home. We honor their sacrifice by finishing this, Thrak-Zul said, reading Marcus's expression. They gave their lives so others could survive. That is the highest honor any warrior can achieve. Marcus nodded. He could grieve later. Right now he had a job to finish. The second phase began. Hidden fleets emerged from their hiding places simultaneously across the galaxy. Thousands of ships from dozens of species all moving at once. The Dravaki, already paranoid and confused, suddenly found themselves surrounded. At the same moment, the saboteur teams activated their programs. 67 people, scattered across Dravaki ships and installations, triggered every trap they had spent weeks preparing. Explosives detonated. Computer viruses spread. Power systems overloaded. Shields failed. Communication arrays went offline. Not all of it worked. The Dravaki technology was sophisticated enough to counter many of the attacks. But enough worked. Enough chaos was created, and in that chaos the Council forces struck. Marcus commanded from the flagship, coordinating hundreds of battles simultaneously. Every species fought according to their strengths. The Krevtar led brutal assault teams. The Zithian energy manipulators disrupted Dravaki shields. The Vrothian telepaths confused enemy communications. And humans were everywhere, adapting to situations as they developed, finding weaknesses, exploiting opportunities. Dravaki command ship in Sector 7 is exposed, a tactical officer reported. Shields down from sabotage. All nearby forces converge on that position, Marcus ordered. Take it out. 3 separate fleets hammered the exposed command ship. It was still incredibly powerful, destroying dozens of Council vessels. But without shields it could be damaged, and damage meant doubt. One by one, Dravaki command ships fell or retreated. The coordination that had made the Dravaki invincible began to break down. Individual Dravaki groups found themselves isolated, cut off from central command, uncertain what to do. and uncertainty was death in combat. They are retreating, Thraxul reported with disbelief. The Dravaki group in Sector 12 is pulling back. All forces pursue, Marcus commanded. Do not let them regroup. Keep the pressure on. The battle raged for 18 hours. It was the longest, bloodiest combat the galaxy had ever seen. Millions died. Hundreds of ships were destroyed. Entire fleets were lost, but slowly, impossibly, the Dravaki were being pushed back. The turning point came when a young human pilot named Jennifer Torres, leading a squadron through a debris field, spotted something no one else had noticed. A pattern in the Dravaki retreat. They were all falling back toward a single point in dark space. Admiral, she reported, I think I found their rally point. They are regrouping somewhere beyond our sensors. Can you identify the location? Marcus asked. Negative, but if we track their retreat vectors and extrapolate. She sent the data. Marcus studied it quickly. That is where they came from, he realized. That is their staging area. If the war was over. Marcus sat in his command chair, exhausted beyond measure. Around him, officers were celebrating, crying, or simply collapsing in relief. They had won. Against impossible odds, against an enemy older and more powerful than anything the galaxy had known. They had won. Casualties? He asked quietly. Sarah's voice was heavy. Preliminary estimates, 12 million military personnel dead, 40 worlds severely damaged or destroyed, 300 billion civilian casualties total. The numbers were staggering. The cost of victory was almost too high to bear. And the saboteur teams? Marcus forced himself to ask. 11 survivors out of 67 teams. The rest, confirmed lost. Marcus closed his eyes. 56 teams, 300 people, give or take. People who had walked into certain death because he had asked them to. People who would never see their homes again. They saved us all, Thraxul said, his hand on Marcus's shoulder. Without their sacrifice, we would have lost. I know, Marcus whispered. That does not make it easier. The aftermath took months to sort out. The Dravaki, defeated and humbled, were placed under council supervision. Their technology would be studied, their knowledge would be shared, but they would never again threaten the galaxy. The council itself was transformed. The old hierarchy, with the Krevtar as enforcers and other species as followers, was gone. Now every species had equal voice. Military doctrine was rewritten. Humans trained forces across the galaxy in adaptive tactics. The Krevtar learned that strength came in many forms. Commander Thraxul was promoted to Supreme Military Commander of the entire Council Defense Force. His first act was to create a new division, Asymmetric Warfare, led by Admiral Marcus Chen. 1 year after the war ended, Thraxul and Marcus stood together in the Memorial Garden on Council Station Prime. Before them stretched a wall of names, every person who had died in the war. 300 billion names. The galaxy is different now, Thraxul said. We are no longer the peaceful civilization we were. We have learned to fight with deception, with guerrilla tactics, with methods we once would have called dishonorable. Yes, Marcus agreed. Nothing will ever be the same. Do you regret it teaching us these methods? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I regret the deaths. I regret the cost. But I do not regret survival. Earth's history is full of dark moments, terrible wars, horrific choices. We learned that sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to become something you do not want to be. That is the burden of survival. The burden of being human, Thraxul said. Maybe. Or maybe it is just the burden of being alive in a universe that is not always kind. They stood in silence, reading names. So many names. Species from across the galaxy, united in death, if not always in life. The Dravaki are requesting an audience, Thraxul said eventually. They want to speak with you specifically. Why me? Because you are the one who defeated them. You are the one who showed them that age and power are not everything. They want to understand how they were beaten. Marcus followed Thraxul to a private meeting room. The Dravaki representative was there, a being of shifting light and shadow, ancient and patient. Human, the Dravaki spoke, its voice like wind through crystals. You defeated us in ways we did not anticipate. We have existed for millions of years. We have conquered thousands of species. Yet you barely evolved beyond your own world, found weaknesses we did not know we had. You assumed you were invincible, Marcus replied. That was your weakness. More than that. You fought irrationally. You sacrificed when there was no strategic gain. You chose actions that made no logical sense. We could not predict you because you did not follow the patterns of rational beings. We followed the pattern of desperate beings, Marcus corrected. When you have nothing to lose, you will try anything. When you are scared enough, logic stops mattering. Survival becomes the only goal, and you will do whatever it takes to achieve it. The Dravaki was silent, processing this. You have taught the galaxy something dangerous. Before, species fought with honor, with logic, with restraint. Now they know how to fight without limits. Now they know how to become as desperate and ruthless as you humans. The galaxy will be a more violent place because of you. Maybe, Marcus admitted, but it will be an alive place. Better a violent galaxy than an extinct one. You believe that truly? That any method is justified if it achieves survival? Marcus thought about Earth's history, about all the wars, the atrocities, the dark chapters humanity wished it could forget. I believe that when someone threatens to exterminate you, you have the right to fight back with everything you have. You gave us no choice, Dravaki. You came back after millions of years and demanded submission or death. What did you expect us to do? We expected you to lose, the Dravaki admitted, as all others have lost. Then you did not understand humanity. We have been losing since we first stood upright on Earth. We lost to predators, to diseases, to nature itself. We have been fighting for survival for our entire existence. Losing is not new to us. But giving up? That is something we never learned how to do. The Dravaki seemed to consider this. Perhaps that is why you survived when others did not. Not because you are strong, but because you refused to accept defeat. Maybe, Marcus said, or maybe we are just too stupid to know when we are beaten. After the Dravaki left, Thraxul found Marcus staring out at the stars. What are you thinking? I am thinking about the future, Marcus replied. The galaxy has changed. We showed everyone how to survive against impossible odds. But we also showed them how to fight without mercy, how to win without honor, how to do terrible things for good reasons. I am not sure if that is a gift or a curse. It is both, Thraxul said. But it is necessary. The galaxy was too peaceful, too comfortable. We had forgotten that survival sometimes requires hard choices. You reminded us. And now we rebuild. We train. We prepare. Because somewhere out there, beyond our galaxy, there might be other threats. And when they come, we will be ready. Not just the Krevtar, but all of us together. Marcus nodded. Together. I like that. In the months that followed, the galaxy slowly transformed. Military academies taught human tactics alongside traditional methods. Species that had relied solely on strength learned to value strategy. Warriors who had fought with honor learned when honor had to be set aside. And Earth, tiny Earth on the edge of known space, became the center of military innovation. Humans trained instructors, wrote doctrines, shared their darkest knowledge of how to survive against superior enemies. Commander Thraxul returned to Earth once, wanting to understand where these impossible humans came from. Marcus took him to a museum, showing him Earth's history, the wars, the genocides, the near extinctions, the countless times humanity should have died, but somehow survived. Your entire history is struggle, Thraxul observed, looking at exhibits showing everything from dinosaurs to world wars. Yes, Marcus agreed. We evolved on a planet that was trying to kill us. We spent thousands of years fighting each other. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. Every generation faced something that should have ended us, but we kept going. We adapted. We survived. That is why you are so good at war. You have been at war with existence itself since the beginning. Maybe, or maybe we just never had the luxury of peace long enough to forget how to fight. Thraxul looked at a display showing human soldiers through the ages, warriors from different eras, different wars, but all with the same expression in their eyes. Determination, stubbornness, refusal to quit. The galaxy was stronger before we met you, Thraxul said quietly. We had the Krevtar, the mightiest warriors. We had peace that lasted 10,000 years. We had honor and logic. And now? Marcus asked. Now we have something else. We have survival. We have adaptability. We have the knowledge that when everything else fails, we can still fight. We can still win. But we also have something darker. The knowledge of what we are capable of when pushed to the edge. Does that frighten you? Yes, Thraxul admitted, but it also gives me hope. Because if we can defeat the Dravaki, we can survive anything. They stood together in the museum, a Krevtar warrior and a human admiral, looking at the history of a species that had clawed its way from caves to starships through sheer stubborn refusal to die. Nothing in the galaxy will ever be the same, Thraxul said finally. No, Marcus agreed. But we are alive to see it. That has to count for something. And across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, in hundreds of languages, people told a new story. The story of how the strongest species in the galaxy met humans, and how everything changed. Some saw it as a story of hope, others as a warning. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity had shown the galaxy that survival was not about being the strongest or the smartest. It was about refusing to quit no matter the odds, and in a universe full of dangers, that might be the most important lesson of all.